Today, we're going to talk about something that is, well, it's one of the hardest things we go through as humans. We're going to talk about letting go of someone you are still completely in love with.
And I want to start by asking you something directly. Have you ever loved someone so deeply with every single part of you?
And even with all that love, all that connection, you still had to let them go. Not because you fell out of love, not because you wanted to,
but because life or the universe or just the circumstances of it all left you with absolutely no other choice. If that feels familiar, then you're in the right place.
You see, this is a very different kind of heartbreak. It's not the kind that comes from a fight or betrayal. It's the kind that happens when the world itself seems to get in the way.
And you know what I mean? We're talking about things like bad timing. Maybe you met the right person at the absolute wrong time. Or distance, thousands of miles making it impossible. Maybe it was family, or your lives just pulling you down completely different paths. It could even be promises you'd already made, or having these huge important dreams that just couldn't exist side by side. These are those real-life walls that sometimes even the strongest love can't seem to get over.
And that leads to this really confusing kind of pain. See, usually when a relationship ends, we look for a bad guy, right? Someone to be angry at. But what do you do when there's no one to blame?
That's why it hurts so much, because the good feelings are all still there. For them, that connection is still very real. And for you, this is still a person you care about deeply. There's no anger to act like a shield, so all you're left with is the pure, unfiltered sadness.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? You're left holding all of this love with nowhere for it to go. The foundation of it all, the love you shared, was strong. And that's what makes the ending feel so wrong, so completely unfair.
You know, when a breakup is forced on you by the outside world, it doesn't give you closure. Nope. Instead, it leaves you with this ghost, this constant nagging loop of what-ifs.
your mind just starts spinning, playing out all these different movies. What if things had just been a little bit kinder to the two of you? What if you'd met just a year later, or maybe 5 years earlier? Would that have changed everything?
And then the questions, man, they get deeper. What if you didn't have to make that impossible choice between the person you love and your responsibilities, between what your heart was screaming for and what reality demanded?
And then there's the one that just hits you in the chest, the one that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., that little whisper that asks, what if this was it? What if this was my person, my forever, and it was just taken away?
Okay, so right here, we need to make a shift, because it is so easy to see walking away as a failure, as you giving up. But we have to reframe why it really happened.
I want you to consider this idea. What if letting go wasn't the end of love? What if, in a strange, painful way, it was actually an act of love itself?
Seriously, think about it. Maybe you let go to protect both of you from a future that would have broken your hearts in even deeper ways. Or maybe it was about honoring their dreams, or your dreams, that were pulling you apart. Maybe it was an act of incredible maturity, recognizing that you both needed space to grow in ways you just couldn't if you stayed together.
So if you're carrying this weight, if this is your story, I want to talk directly to your heart for a minute. There are some things you really need to hear. So just let them sink in.
First, you did not fail this love. You didn't. When circumstances force an ending, it says nothing about the love you gave or the effort you put in.
And you are not weak for walking away. I want to be really clear about that. Choosing the right path, even when it's the most painful one, takes a kind of strength most people can't even imagine.
You did what you had to do, period. You made the hardest call you could with the cards you were dealt. So please, give yourself some grace. Give yourself permission to accept that.
Your grief is so valid. Of course you're grieving. You're grieving a beautiful story that was cut short. A story that absolutely deserved a different, happier ending. It's okay to be sad about that.
And finally, I need you to know this. That love, it doesn't just go away. It can't. It just changes shape. It softens over time. It reshapes itself from a sharp pain into a quiet strength. It becomes a permanent part of who you are. And that ache you feel, it will lessen. That story will find its place in your history. And your heart, your brave, resilient heart, it will learn to live fully again. It will. The real question isn't if you'll heal. It's how this love you had to let go of will beautifully inform the way you live and the way you love for the rest of your life.